It is overtime here again at Old Favorite Friday, and we are talking about not just an incredible beer, but an incredible brewery in Brooklyn, Black Ops. Now, I'm here with Joel. He's from Niche Brands, distributor up in New York, runs operations and sales. This is a beer that he really wanted to feature for Old Favorite Friday, so we did a twofer. We did a couple beers today that we have not featured before that we absolutely should have. I love Brooklyn. I love Brooklyn Black Ops. I do have to say we're cheating a little bit because Brooklyn Black Ops, which is a beer that really helped us kick off the bourbon barrel imperial stout craze up there with things like Black Tuesday, was brewed way back in 2007 for the first time. That's the beer that I know and love. Well, they stopped doing the 750 bombers that we knew, and this is a can. As you can see, it's a Four Roses bourbon barrel version. This can you found at Coffee District in Delray Beach. It's at least a year or so old, so I actually don't know enough about this beer right now to know if this is the only version of Black Ops. They do different versions of Black Ops, but screw it. We're just talking about Black Ops. We're talking about a beer that so many of us fell in love with. You're actually rocking a Brooklyn shirt here. So listen, I love this beer. I could talk forever, but people hear me talk all the time. Joel, tell me about this beer.
Oh man, yeah, like you were saying, Black Ops was one of those beers that were like before beer lines, before people were lining up at like breweries all around the states and getting those specialty releases. This was one of those beers that came out in a 750 milliliter bottle that people would actually run to the beer shop that I was working at, Bushwick at the time in 2014, and want to grab this bottle. This was, in line with, I don't know, you could say Goose Island, Bourbon County, all these rare, there wasn't a lot though. It was just a handful of these type of specialty beers that would come out in 750s. And, Garrett Oliver from Brooklyn Brewery is a huge inspiration of mine. And the brewery itself, just so many fun facts about the brewery and the beer overall. This logo was actually made by the guy that designed the I Love New York t-shirts. So they actually reached out to him for, the graphic design for their brewery. I mean, this brewery set so many things off, attaching a borough to a style Brooklyn lager, inspired breweries after that, whether it was Bronx Pale Ale, other type of breweries inspired beers. But we're talking about Black Ops today, which is a beautiful imperial stout. Not sure how long it's been sitting at Coffee District, but the flavors has leveled out. It still has that beautiful bourbon, not so aggressive on the nose, but very prevalent there.
I'm getting a lot of caramel. I'm getting a lot of vanilla. Both things that come out of the barrel, getting a little bit of smoke, but it's not hot. It doesn't have that, over the top, punch you in the face being in the bourbon barrel before. I mean, this is a big beer. Back in the day, this beer would have been like the biggest imperial stout out there. Now, because of the extraction and people kind of pushing the limits, this thing seems almost like medium, full-bodied, not just full-bodied. I don't think that's a problem. I think this is more drinkable, more approachable, more flavorful because it's not relying on just being motor oil.
Exactly.
And just talking about Brooklyn, listen, we've featured many Brooklyn beers here at Old Favorite Friday. Unfortunately, some of the beers that we've talked about, maybe they were even off camera, like Sriracha Ace, I would love to feature these beers. They're not made anymore. And there's unfortunately so many beers in like the canon, the history of craft beer. I mean, Brooklyn Brewery's been around since 1987. I was 6 years old when this brewery was founded, which is insane to think of. And they've gone through so many great beers that are kind of retired. They're not around anymore. But I would kill to get my hands on them again. I'm so happy that this beer lives on. I'm not sure if it's the yearly release. Maybe I should have done a little more homework on this. But you said you found this can. I was like, done, man. I've been trying to do this beer forever.
Seems like bottles have faded away in the market, but a lot of these specialty beers are going in cans. I just saw Westbrook Mexican Cake for the first time in a can, which was surprising to me. That was a 22-ounce bomber that I used to really look forward to. But what do you think? Do you think the flavors kind of change in a can versus a bottle, or?
I mean, I think that when you've got like a cork and cage, especially, you've got a little more oxygen displacement on something like that. So I think you're going to get potentially more ageability as far as like the way the beer changes over time. I mean, with good canning practices, you should be picking up minimal dissolved oxygen. There is some DO in there that will allow the beer to change, but it also will allow the beer to spoil quicker. I'm a big fan of cans, and even if we're not getting as much ageability out of those beers, we're still getting great beer. We're still getting fresh beer. So, man, to each his own. I've never been like a super long aging guy in the first place. I'm not a dude that wants to hold on to a beer 15, 20 years. I have friends of mine that do that, and I'll, smile and nod and go, yeah, that's really, really good soy sauce. Let's go drink something else. But I think, a certain kind of time frame, a can of this, I'm looking, 3-5 years, maybe at the max. But I almost always like to drink the beer when it's young, when it's on fire, when it's got all those flavors just kind of kicking in gear. When the brewery releases it, my idea is that beer's ready to drink right now.
Incredible beer. It's not overpowered by the spirit barrel that they used. It has that bourbon there, but it also has that medium body of chocolate, caramel, and still a little carb at the end. It isn't flat like most of these barrel-aged beers that just lose all the essence of their body. So still a great beer 10 years later.
Yeah, after all these years, incredible beer. Listen, some people struggle with imperial stouts, especially like bourbon barrel imperial stouts, to pair them. A lot of people want to push you towards desserts with stuff like this, a chocolate cake, something like that, and that can work. But I like to, you don't have to pigeonhole a big, rich imperial stout with a sweet dish. I'm thinking smoked duck with something like this, a gamey meat, smoky to really lean into that barrel, maybe with like a maple glaze or like what I love? Good imperial stouts always give me like dark fruit flavors, like blueberry, blackberry. If you did like a blackberry compote glaze over a smoked duck, I think this would kill it.
Perfect.
Something like that. You got any other ideas, food pairing, or something else you like to drink with imperial stouts?
Just gamey meats. Goat, lamb, ostrich, something weird that's super gamey, definitely.
No, gamey works. Gamey works for real. And roasted, smoked, anything that's going to bring out those natural flavors, things that are fatty, things that are rich, things that can stand up to this kind of weight, this kind of flavor, that this kind of beer kind of hits you in the mouth.
Absolutely.
Well, Joel, thank you so much for coming in, doing the video with me. Please poke around our channel, like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff you have to do on YouTube so that you can keep seeing this content. Let us know if you picked up any of these beers. If you got a Brooklyn beer, please go do it. Drink it for Old Favorite Friday. Even if you can't get a Black Ops, get your hand on some Brooklyn Lager, right? Get your hand on some of the other great beers that they do. If you've got some black chocolate stout hanging around in your fridge, crack one of those open. That's still a yearly beer they bring out. And let us know how you're enjoying these beers and if you're enjoying them as much as we do, because these beers are great and we know you are. We'll see you next time. Cheers.
Study the classics.